This is Mastering Your Wealth with David Gagnon, the podcast.
You know, when you hear about the big numbers of what people have saved or even need for retirement, sometimes you can start to feel bad, like you don't measure up and you think, oh, God, I'm never going to be able to retire. Well, according to some data from Employee Benefit Research Institute, only 3% of retirees have saved over $1 million. So take that to heart here. That's only 3% have saved over $1 million. So that means a lot of folks out there, they're planning a successful retirement with a lot less. So David, what's your message to someone listening right now who believes they can't retire until they reach a certain number? Everyone's got this magic number in their head.
Well, if you think about it, each person's retirement has a different price tag. We all spend and live differently, and you know, the basic variables, we all can kind of put a finger on that, what we're paying for utilities and heating our home and maintaining the home. And just that one area alone, that is a lifestyle decision on the size of the home you want to live in, the community you want to live in, the part of the country you want to live in. So that can be different as far as costs go. So just looking at that area, you have to kind of look at your own personal exposure to those expenses based on that. And then lifestyle. What type of social activities, recreational activities do you want to do in retirement? What type of trips do you want to take? How big is your family? Family dynamics will affect the cost of your retirement. If you have one child with one grandchild, it's going to be different than 6 children with 22 grandchildren like my in-laws. I mean, so you know, when you think about it, you have to look at family dynamics. And what people don't tend to do is they're working so hard during their working years, trying to raise the family, get them through school, but they're not looking today when they're doing this into the future about what retirement might need to look like and what you need to save today. People kind of wait till the kids are out of the house to start thinking about retirement. And where they really fall back on missing an opportunity is they had time. They had more time on their hands to put money away and compound that money over time to make the money work harder instead of them waiting till they were in their 50s. Now they got to save more. They got to work more. They got to work harder to get more dollars to kind of play catch up, right? And unfortunately, that I see that over and over again. And a lot of people don't really write down what they're spending or really have a clear handle on their budget. But you know, the important thing is you need to look into the future with what you're doing today to kind of back up and figure out what you truly need to have saved at the time you feel you want to retire, what age, and a lot of other variables are going to impact that, right? I mean, you have inflation you have to kind of play around with and use different stress factors to see, you know, that's going to impact how much you're going to have to save. And also, what rate of return do you need before and in retirement to make this work and last as long as you think you're going to live, plus longevity. You know, if you think you're going to have a longer than normal life expectancy, that puts a stress on your planning too. So we look at all these variables. We ask questions that people don't even think about when they're planning. So we don't want people to be hurt by the things that are happening in their blind spot that we bring to light, things that are costing them with poor financial decisions or lack of planning.
One of the big items to hit the headlines recently is billionaire Elon Musk turning heads once more. Not only is he hunting for government waste, you know, he's head of DOGE here, the Department of Government Efficiency. He also told the Joe Rogan podcast that Social Security is unsustainable.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
Right, explain that.
Well, people pay into Social Security, and the money goes out of Social Security immediately, but the obligation for Social Security is your entire retirement career. Like if you look at the future obligations of Social Security, it far exceeds the tax revenue. Basically, people are living way longer than expected. So you have more people who are retired that live for a long time and get retirement payments. So the future obligation, so however bad the financial situation is right now for the federal government, it will be much worse in the future.
All right, let's break this down here just for a second here, because Musk comparing Social Security to a Ponzi scheme, it does sound extreme. Obviously, Ponzi schemes are illegal. Social Security is not. I think we all know that. But it does highlight solvency issues. We've talked about solvency before. Even Elon came on the scene here. It is estimated benefits could be cut at least 25% by 2033 if Congress does nothing to shore it up. But if Social Security becomes less reliable, David, what strategies do you recommend to help clients have a secure retirement?
Well, what's impacting Social Security and the sustainability of it, if you think about it, yeah, granted, I think there's been a lot of mismanagement in our budget and how tax revenues and benefits have been paid out, and there's been fraud, and I think this is good. I think there's a need to have accountability and some audit oversight because we haven't had that. But the other thing is, you look at the baby boomers that are retiring today. There are 10,000 baby boomers retiring. Now, that's going to continue for a period of time. And I think the end of the tail baby boomer generation are those that are born in 1964. At that stage, they're looking at 20 to 30,000 retiring a day. Now, think about all these folks starting to take their benefits out of Social Security, but on the flip side, there are much fewer people paying into the system, workers, I should say. And so we have to really take a clear look on whether it's sustainable. And if you go to a website, it's called truthandaccounting.org, it shows the unfunded Social Security promises for future benefits, which is $50.3 trillion as we speak today. That is a big, big number to try to fund. And so if they don't fix some of the things that might be putting the system on shady ground, then the other things that we look at for planning is younger folks, when we're doing the forecast for their retirement, a lot of them say, listen, let's assume Social Security is not even there. Mm-hmm. And that's a great way to prepare yourself just in case Social Security isn't there for the younger folks. And this way, if it is there, then that'll be just more money in the pie and a little bit more of a cushion for retirement. But maybe a supplement or an alternative could be used into your income plan, building into your income plan, income annuities that pay a guaranteed income for life. And some have inflation increases, some have healthcare benefits. And, you know, we always look at whether there's a need for that in the plan for folks when we're working for them and show them the options. Because once you are educated on all the different tools out there to make your retirement sustainable and give you better predictability and be assured that you're going to have a certain level of income for no matter how long you live, we can build plans this way. And it becomes, you know, it gets down to the point where what do you want your money to accomplish for you? And because we can create benefits and solutions with a strategic plan design, but we can make a plan that is really sustainable, whether Social Security is there or not, because there are different tools we can use. But I think it's important that people do what-if scenarios. What if Social Security is not there? All right, well, what do you need to save? How much more do you need to save today to kind of fill that void if it happens? So planning, and we always talk about it, it comes down to a strategic, personalized plan. And a lot of these things could be overcome with the right tools, the right solutions, right strategies, and then you don't have to worry about what happens, because there's a lot of things you cannot control about what is going to impact your money in the future or your resources.
Well, and yeah, that's a great point right there. We can't control what's going to happen, whether it was Social Security insolvency, just based on how the money's being spent, how it's being sent out. And then you got, you know, Elon and Trump over here talking about taking the tax away from, accepting Social Security. So Social Security seems to kind of be up in the air, kind of definitely an uncertainty when it comes to your bingo card here, when it comes to your retirement. So it's almost better to have this conversation and go, look, let's just factor my retirement without Social Security. And if it's there, great. However it's there, great. But I don't want to put too much weight in it when it comes to planning.
Yeah. If you really think that Social Security is not going to be there, then if you don't have a plan in place today, you better get working on it soon, because you might have to put a lot more money out of your own pocket into funding that plan. And if we're working with younger folks that are in their 30s and 40s, yeah, they got a fighting chance because they started early in the game to figure out what are the best solutions that, you know, meet their goals and objectives at the point they want to retire, whether it's age 65 or whatever age it is, with the spending goal that they have in mind, adjusted for inflation and taxes. So, you know, all these variables, you know, we have to make assumptions, and we can stress test it to be more conservative. But the folks that take time and put the effort in to have a plan that's designed, that's aligned with their ideal retirement, those are the ones that are going to retire without the anxiety that I see so many people retiring with, because they don't have any control or they don't feel confident that they're going to be able to make it in retirement, at least with the spending goals that they had.
It is that time of year again. Start getting out all your cleaning supplies. It is time for some spring cleaning here. And I guess the question is, will you be smart about it? Well, there's a new poll by Talker Research that found that 1/3 of the stuff in our homes are things we don't really need and we rarely use. So are you really cleaning things out? How are you doing that? Well, we can also use that same notion when it comes to financial clutter within our retirement plans, David. So what tips can you offer to help clients clean up their financials?
Well, we always want to take an inventory of where all your resources are when we're doing planning. And what people have found out over the years, some people forgot about a pension that they qualified for with a previous employer. And this happened a few times, and this amounted to anywhere between $4,000 to $8,000 a year. And think about that. They almost left it off the table for the retirement because we had them research, because when they told us all the different employers that they worked for, we knew a number of those big companies had pensions back in the day. So, and they, sure enough, they were able to get some information and implement that into their income plan. Had we not probed for that, they would have missed out on that for their lifetime. A lot of people want to take a look at if they have debt before they retire. Hopefully they have a debt reduction strategy to kind of take that off their back, because debt is very costly if it's tied to moving interest rates, because interest rates have gone up in the last few years, and anything that's adjusted to a variable interest rate on debt can really hurt you in retirement. And you know, the other thing is, we talk about, make sure you understand your budget, what you're going to need to spend and plan for your budget items and lifestyle spending. But you know, longevity is another challenge for people. Last week alone, actually the last week and a half, we had 3 calls from separate occasions, 2 single people, 1 married couple, and they were concerned about running out of money because they had been retired for, in most these 3 cases, 5 to 8 years each. And one particular lady at age 78 was needing to take more money out of their savings, her savings, because inflation has required her to spend more. And when I did her analysis, it looked like she was going to burn down her money and be out of money in 8 years, 8.3 years. And the only thing she would have left to live on is Social Security. And so when we evaluated her options, we were able to take what was left in her investment plan. And the thing that she ran up against was she had no tolerance for market risk. So she was in some CDs and low interest bearing accounts, and she was just spending interest and principal in her retirement years. So she fortunately caught us in time where we were able to take what was left in her investments and create a guaranteed income plan that not only gave her a $6,000 per year increase in her income, but she was going to be assured that she was going to have plenty to live on throughout her life, no matter how long she lived, because she went from a $30,000 per year Social Security to a $65,000, combining her Social Security with the income plan when you put together. And that really put her at ease, because she was really stressing out, because she saw that she was going to, in her mind, she was going to live much longer than 8 more years, and because there's longevity in her family, and she really felt she was going to live into her 90s. So we're putting that plan together. And what she couldn't believe was her distribution rate that we were able to get on her money was 9.5% guaranteed for life. So these are things and tools that we look at to enhance your opportunities financially and not take any risk. Actually, you lower your risk when we have these types of plans that are implemented. So I think it's good to see, you know, what's possible out there that you may not even know exist. And that's why I think people should take advantage of giving us a call. Let us do that second review for you, because there are things in your blind spot that we'll likely uncover and then teach you about things that you're not taking advantage of to really put you on a better financial footing and a higher probability in your retirement success.
It's estimated that over 4 million people reached the age of 65 this year, ushering in a wave of retirements, of course. And I'm sure you've probably been hit with this question a lot. And folks say, can I retire this year? So what are some of the boxes that you look to check before you finally give an answer there?
Well, there are 2 things you want to make sure come together that makes retirement much better for you. You want to be emotionally ready first. And there's a lot of people emotionally ready, but they're not financially ready. That's the other part of the equation. You want to make sure you're financially ready. And so what we need to do is when somebody, I get this a lot. I get calls from people, especially longtime radio listeners. They're 1, 2 years, maybe months away from retirement. And they're a little apprehensive about whether they think they're going to be able to sustain themselves throughout their retirement years. And they have a lot of questions that need to be answered. And one of them is, when should they take Social Security? But in any case, I think it's good to have a plan evaluated first before you give your notice, because if you find this out after the fact that you should have really waited 1, 2 years of retirement, it's too late, because it's going to be very hard to kind of replace that job you left, maybe at the salary you were earning plus the benefits you were getting. And we just had a few months back, and they wanted to know if they could retire. There was a change in the company, and the boss that this person was working for was not fun to work with, and he just wanted to see if he could just call it quits and just move on with his retirement. And what we found out in his analysis was that there was a big difference in his retirement benefits and spending capabilities if he delayed 1 more year. And that was the answer he needed. And he was good with that, because the year is going to go by pretty quick. But he felt very comfortable knowing that he had a plan in place, what the plan was going to look like, where his money needs to be to make it all work, and have some contingency factors in there. Because one of the things that you always want to kind of stress test your numbers if you're a married couple is, what happens if somebody passes away? Because there's going to be a loss of income for many folks, especially with Social Security. The survivor will only get the higher the 2 Social Security benefits. So we build in plans as backup strategies to your overall strategy. And this is fun to work through because it's a puzzle. We like doing it, and we like to create value and solutions for folks that need it. And then when people see that they do have options and they can do things differently with taking less risk and having better predictability, it's a very comforting feeling for them, knowing that we're their coach going forward. When they become clients, we're there every year. We're taking a look and tweaking if changes need to be made to their plan, because things will continually change. You know, your spending might change, your health might change, taxes, inflation, all this stuff impacts the future. So we want to make sure we keep people on their personal financial GPS, we call it, because you know where you are today, I know where they want to be later, and then we just got to make the plan work between those 2 points. And it's a great process, and I think those that take advantage of it realize the value that we bring and the comfort that they get out of going through the process.
For more details or to sit down with David for your complimentary financial GPS, visit masteringyourwealthradio.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, BWA, a registered investment advisor and an affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and First Financial Planners are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BWA, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
Information provided is not intended as tax or legal advice and should not be relied on as such. You are encouraged to seek tax or legal advice from an independent professional.
Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone.
David Gagnon and First Financial Planners are not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.
Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interests of our clients and to make full disclosure of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A Item 4, for additional information.